I'd like to call to order the 36th meeting of the 40th Council, March 11th, 2024. First order of business is a moment of reflection. Okay, moving on. Number 3, approval of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Zacharias, seconded by Councillor Knowles. Resolved that the agenda for the 36th meeting of the 40th Council be approved as presented. In favor? Carried. Next is disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. You can declare it now or any time during the meeting. And number 5 is minutes from the previous meeting. Moved by Councillor Knowles, seconded by Councillor Zacharias. Resolved that the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting held February 26, 2024 be received and filed. In favor? Carried. Next, moved by Councillor Zacharias, seconded by Councillor Knowles. Resolved that the minutes of the 35th meeting of the 40th Council held February 26, 2024 be adopted as written. In favor? Carried. Is there any matters arising out of the minutes anyone would like to discuss? Hearing none at this time, we'll move on to finance and accept the 2020 financial statements. Moved by Councillor Knowles, seconded by Councillor Shine. Resolved that the town of Atikokan accept the 2020 audited financial statements as prepared by BDO Canada LLP. In favor? Carried. Next, moved by Councillor Knowles, seconded by Councillor Shine. Resolved that the town of Atikokan appoint BDO Canada LLP as auditors for 2021. Any discussion on that? Yes, Councillor McQuay.
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. I'm actually just wondering, I have no problem with the 2021, but do we have any intention of looking for other auditors and putting it out like we have with other services that we've been looking at for cost? And it's also good practice. Maybe we have been with BDO for a long time to maybe look at someone else as well. Is that something that Brandy's planning on doing, or do you know?
Well, I mean, as John had alluded to earlier, they've been doing our audit since 2002. We see that as a benefit, not as a negative, because of the history that they have with the organization. If councils sees it, I mean, we could look at a competitive process. I don't know if Brandy's still on the line, if she has any comments regarding that, but administration does not see the need for that. We're quite happy with our relationship to perform the actual audit. So Brandy, if you have any extra comments.
Just that the nice thing about our auditors is they know our software and they know where all of our stuff is. So administratively, it's advantageous, just because they can do a lot on their own without tying up a lot of staff time. And just the software is not very user friendly. So just the fact that they are able to print reports and find the data they need is very beneficial on our end.
Yes.
Sorry, just want to, well, I'll just add to that before Councillor Knowles. And then as well, he had mentioned that they do Atikokan Hydro and Enercom, so we're in a unique situation with those two. So for them to do the audits for those two entities, as us being the shareholders, there's an advantage and a synergy there as well.
Yes, Councillor Knowles?
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. Just a quick question. Is BDO on a annual contract for these services, or do we have something longer term locked in for cost certainty? Just how does the price structure of that work?
We generally just appoint them every year.
Okay, so they just give a quote for what the services will be for each year, and that's that?
Yeah, it's been kind of out of whack the last few years because of COVID, and we had to transfer to remote audits, which vastly changed the scope of the audit on both our ends. Now that we've been doing a little while, it's, you know, we've changed practices a little bit, but yeah, so I'm assuming moving forward, and once we get caught up, we will kind of go back to normal practice where they come down. That we generally normally have an interim audit in November, and then our actual audit at the end of March is and they physically come down, which saves a lot of time because they can just dig into our accounts payable files. They can get the documents right then and there, versus when it's remote, then we have to scan all the documents and upload them, and everything takes a little longer right now, but we're hoping to get back to a normal schedule soon.
Jason, do you have something to add?
Yeah, I appreciate Councillor McQuay's comments, and like you said, on these larger, we just had this discussion about Northern Waterworks, right, and like these larger files, and I think you're right that it is important to make sure we're competitive. I think because we're in the unique situation that we are behind, I would be very, very concerned to change auditors right now. Certainly when we are current, maybe then that's something that we could revisit, but I would probably advise against changing someone midstream just because we are behind, because I think the extra work that would be involved in getting a new firm up to speed would really hamper the process, and obviously the goal here is to try and get current as quickly as we can, and I think throwing that into the mix would slow things down a bit.
And that's where I was going to go with this too, Jason, was we don't want to delay it any longer getting caught up, and that would definitely delay it. But I think that it's something that we should look at, or we could look at in the future going forward in the next year or two.
Hopefully not the next year or two.
Any other discussions? Okay, resolve that the town of Atikokan appoint BDO Canada LLP as auditors for 2021. In favor? Carried. Thank you, councillors. Good discussion. And on to Public Works, bylaw number 06-24. Moved by Councillor Knowles, seconded by Councillor Shine. Resolve that bylaw number 06-24, being a bylaw for establishing and maintaining a waste management system, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. In favor? Carried. Next is bylaw number 07-24. Moved by Councillor Knowles, seconded by Councillor Shine. Resolve that bylaw number 07-24, being a bylaw to enter into a lease agreement with NAV Canada for space at the municipal airport, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. In favor? Carried. Next, number C, moved by Councillor Johnson, seconded by Councillor McQuay. Resolve that council approve the annual $150,000 cubic public works, I'll start over. Resolve that council approve the annual $150,000 Public Works Equipment budget line. What was the $150,000 budget line? Councilor McQuay?
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. I didn't realize that this was going to be on this council's agenda right after, and I feel like with our budget meeting happening next week, that we should probably defer it. I don't feel comfortable approving $150,000 right now before we've even seen an initial budget at all.
I have to agree with you 100%. That's why I didn't talk about adding vehicles, because I thought it was going to be a budget item. And something that caught my eye when I went through there is we're getting rid of one old truck and then we're buying 2 new ones to replace it. Didn't really sit well with me without having a discussion with everybody. Pardon me?
I can provide some further comment on that. So the 150 is the standard every year fleet budget. That's what we do every year. So it wasn't really out of the ordinary to go for 150. And then we have to get 2 replacement trucks because we're pulling the one out, obviously. And then now that we've extended the hours on the landfill, we need to provide a vehicle for that individual to get there and back. So it would actually, it pulls another vehicle out of our snow plowing fleet, unfortunately, because that vehicle needs to have a plow equipped to it. So.
Yes, Councilor McQuay?
I think Councillor.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Zacharias
Councilor
is ahead.
Zacharias?
Thank you. No, I was just going to ask as well, like Councillor McCoy said, with only a week, is there a reason it needs to be rushed and done ASAP? Like, I understand it's pulling a snow plowing vehicle, but right now I don't think it's doing much for snow anyways. And I also don't agree with approving this before we see the whole budget.
Yeah, we were just trying to, get things crossed off the list here.
Sure.
Okay, so do we have this resolution? Do we vote? Okay. Resolve that council approve the annual $150,000 Public Works Equipment budget line. In favor? Opposed? Okay. Opposed? Signed it. Okay. Oh, yes, Councilor Knoll, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. In lieu of the preceding, what happens for moving forward for discussion on this? Does a new resolution come forward, or like how does this play out now?
Well, we turned down their resolution, so it will go back to a budget. It's not approved. What we try to do sometimes is, because we don't want to wait for a budget till maybe June, we were going June, July before, and Public Works or different departments have to move on these things. They can't wait for a budget. So what we'll do is we'll approve something pre-budget. This one won't be approved, and it can come back as a budget.
Right. So I guess that's my question. Are we expecting to see a similar resolution coming forward?
It'll be
What the timeframe is?
part of the budget submission for Public Works.
Okay. Thank you.
Correct? Thank you. Next. Moved by Councilor Johnson, seconded by Councilor McQuay. Resolve that council approve up to $20,000, including applicable taxes, to Miller Environmental to do the 2024 Hazardous Waste Day. In favor? Opposed? Carried? The next one is moved by Councilor McQuay, seconded by Councilor Johnson. Resolve that council approve up to $50,000, including applicable taxes, to northern crack sealers for airport and road crack sealing. In favor? Councilor Martin, can you hear what's going on? You're on mute, sir.
Can you see me?
I can see you, but I don't see
Okay,
you
yeah, I know what's
saying yes, yay, or nay.
Well, I didn't think you could see my hand, so,
I can see you.
okay,
But we have consensus.
okay,
With or without you, we
Okay.
have consensus, but I don't want to leave you out.
yeah, I'm voting with everybody, Counselor, or
Since I
Mayor
was
Ferguson.
just bragging about how well this system is working, I didn't want to leave you out. The next is moved by Councilor Johnson, seconded by Councilor McQuay. Resolve that bylaw number 10-24, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with E360S for battery recycling, be read a first, second, third time, and finally passed. In favor? Carried. The next is the annual drinking water report. Moved by Councilor McQuay, seconded by Councilor Johnson. Whereas the Safe Drinking Act of 2002, CO 2002 C.32, and Ontario Regulations 170-03 requires the annual summary report be prepared by the owners of all municipal water systems, and whereas the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Atikokan has received and the consolidated report for 2023 for Northern Waterworks Incorporated, and finds that it is in accordance with the requirements of the legislation. Now therefore be it resolved that the 2023 annual report on the Atikokan drinking water system be received and filed, and further be it resolved that the report be made available to the general public at the Atikokan Municipal Office, the Atikokan Public Library, and the Town of Atikokan's website, and that is to be advertised accordingly. In favor? Carried. Thank you, everyone. Next is fire and property. Moved by Councilor McQuay, seconded by Councilor Johnson. Resolve that bylaw number 08-24, being a bylaw to enter into the municipal forest fire management agreement with the Minister of Natural Resources and Forestry, be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed. In favor? Carried. The next bylaw, moved by Councilor McQuay, seconded by Councilor Johnson. Resolve that bylaw number 11-24, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry, Aviation, and Forest Fire and Emergency Services for the utilization and space and services at the municipal airport, be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed. In favor? Carried. Okay, thank you everybody for that. Next up is Museum of Atikokan. Councilor Shine, you have anything you want to discuss?
Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. This is to appoint our new member to the board, Brian Jackson, and at this time I'd like to say a big thank you to Rebecca DeCourt for stepping in and having worked with us really well for the last year.
Great. Thank you very much, Councilor. Moved by Councilor Shine, seconded by Councilor Zacharias. Resolve that bylaw number 09-24, being a bylaw to appoint members to the Museum of the Atikokan Board, be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed. In favor? Carried. Yes, I want to thank Rebecca for being on the board and for Brian for stepping up. So that's great. Okay, next up is Northwestern Ontario Municipal Association, NOMA report. Jason, do you want to speak to this?
Yep, so it's there for your information. I believe the mayor's put forward several resolutions that are coming from this report. And then just to note that the NOMA AGM is taking place next month, April 24th in Thunder Bay.
We'll go through each one, but we can discuss if anybody's got any questions or any comments they want to make on these things. So we'll go to, we'll accept the board meeting as written, and then we'll go to a partnership letter of support for the Thunder Bay and Northwestern Ontario Local Immigration Partnership Agreement holder.
Just for your information, and again, NOMA speaks on behalf of the region and the municipalities that make up NOMA, and on different topics. And obviously, the local immigration partnership is one of them.
Yeah, no, as Jason said, NOMA speaks on behalf of the municipalities in Northern Ontario, and also these things are too big for us to take on locally, so to have a common voice speaking to these issues is good for us, and it's good value for us. So thank you for that. Next is resolution. A resolution, Northern Ontario Transportation Task Force resolution. Again, Jason, do you want?
Yep. So for this this particular task force, NOMA President and Mayor of Shinya, Wendy Landry, and then also FNOM's President, which is Danny Whalen. They do sit on this task force with the Ministry of Transportation. And again, they're the ones looking at winter road safety and whatnot. So it's good to have Northwestern representation on that task force. Some information there.
Yeah, and these are some of the things that the province, it was suggested to the province by the task force. There's 67 recommendations, and this is just to add a little pressure to the province to step up and look after some of these things that I think affect all of us in Northwestern Ontario. Okay, and the next resolution, the reason I'm asking Jason these things is because Jason sits on the NOMA board, so he'll have a little more insight into these things. Mm-hmm. Do you want to speak to the social and economic prosperity review?
Yeah, once again, that's just NOMA working on your behalf to push government for increased funding, and this is regarding that.
Yeah, and basically what it says is municipal taxes can't cover all the things that municipalities have to do, and that the government needs to, the province needs to step up and help out where they can. And conservation officers.
Yes, so this is also interesting. So a lot of times too, municipalities will come to NOMA with concerns and ask for their support. This was one of them when, just in regards to the conservation officers and the work that they do and the compensation that they get. And this was just a resolution to government in recognition of those challenges.
Okay. Comments, discussion? Yeah, they are out in some very precarious positions sometimes out in the backwoods and coming to hunters and anglers and whatever else. Next is a resolution regarding the international bridge between Fort Frances and International Falls.
I believe this one was brought forward by the town of Fort Frances. As you may or may not know, the bridge connecting Fort Frances to International Falls was recently sold. It is a private bridge, and apparently the tolls and the fees have gone up considerably. and this is a resolution asking government to intervene with a couple different options there. I will also let you know that if there are certain topics that our council feels strongly about, most certainly feel free to pass our own resolutions in support of this, and we can forward them as well. But again, government knows that NOMA speaks for the region on a lot of these matters.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, that bridge at International Falls is the only international bridge not owned by the federal government. It's a private bridge. So they're asking for the federal government to take it over. And the last one is securing access to natural gas. This is the one that I was requested to sign, and they have reversed the decision. What the OEB wanted to do was charge everybody that builds a new house for the gas hookup to their house, and they wanted to discourage people from getting natural gas and going to electric and heat pumps and things like that. Great idea maybe in a different climate, but for northwestern Ontario people, especially, we're trying to encourage people to build houses, and they're wanting the people, if they want natural gas, they have to pay the hookup themselves. So to the credit of the province and the Minister of Energy, he reversed that. He stepped in and reversed that decision by the OEB. So this letter of support was requested, but the Minister of Energy actually had stepped in before I was able to do this, but we did chime in with our 2 cents. Oh, I'm not going to read all this because I explained it, but thank you. Moved by Councillor Shine, seconded by Councillor Knowles. I'll read the first part in a little bit. Whereas the access to natural gas is important to residents and businesses in our community for affordability and reliability, and whereas the Ontario Energy Board, the OEB's decision on Phase 1 of Enbridge's Gas 2024 rebasing application issued on December 24th, 2023, has concerning implications, including putting into question the future of access to natural gas and support to the economic development, affordable housing, and the energy reliability in communities such as Atikokan. Now I guess I got to read all this. That the Corporation of the Town of Atikokan supports a measured approach to Ontario energy transition, and that the Corporation of the Town of Atikokan recognizes that there may not be enough electricity available to replace the energy provided by natural gas and meet the increased demand from electrification, and that natural gas must continue to play an integral role in meeting the energy needs of Ontario, and that the Corporation of Atikokan, the Town of Atikokan, supports the work the Government of Ontario has done to date, including the natural gas expansion program and electrification and energy transition panels call for the clear policy on the role of natural gas to secure access to affordable energy, and that this resolution be circulated to the President of AMO, Honorable Doug Ford, Honorable Todd Smith, Kevin Holland, and Atikokan, all regional municipalities as significant actors to ensure the need for natural gas in Ontario as part of a measured approach toward energy transition, and submitted to the Municipal Affairs Office and at Enbridge. In favor? Thank you.
Well done.
Thanks. What I was going to skip over was only a little wee bit, and the rest I had to read. Yes, Councillor Knowles.
Sorry, I just getting back to all the pieces done by NOMA. Can you just pass along my support for the work that's being done by NOMA right now? Outside of here, I do a lot of economic development work, and NOMA has been, especially recently, at the table at every single discussion and advocating hard for Northwest Ontario. So please send my regards out to the work that's being done there, and the strategic vision that you've got for NOMA and moving it forward. So it's nice to see. Thanks.
Thank you. I can write something if you want to bring that, I think council is all in agreement that the work that Noma's doing for everybody. Okay. And the one we've been waiting for, moved by Councilor Shine, seconded by Councilor Zacharias, resolved that this meeting do now adjourn. In favor? Opposed? Carried.